everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a little secret of filmmaking. We often think of screenwriters as just storytellers, right? But what if I told you they're actually something more, like architects of emotion? Yeah, they literally design the journey your heart takes, from that very first scene all the way to the final credits. So seriously, how does a movie just grab you and not let go for 2 whole hours? Think about it. That last film that really got you, the one that made you laugh out loud, or maybe even cry a little, or had you literally on the edge of your seat. How do they do that? How can a bunch of pictures and sounds hold us completely captive? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It is absolutely not an accident. It's all by design. All right, let's dive into our first big idea here, the audience's emotional journey. See, those powerful feelings you get when you're watching a great movie, they're not random, not at all. They're actually the result of a super carefully crafted plan that's meant to guide you from one feeling to the very next. Okay, think of it like this. A movie is kind of like a journey through this big, sprawling landscape of emotions. And the screenwriter, they're your guide. They're the one leading you through the valleys of sadness, up to the peaks of pure joy, and deep into the forests of suspense. All these feelings, they don't just happen one after another. They build on each other, creating this incredible wave that, if the writer's done their job right, leaves you feeling completely satisfied when the credits roll. 120. What's that number? Well, that's roughly how many scenes are in your typical movie. And here's the crazy part. The goal for the screenwriter is to make every single one of those scenes hit a specific, unique emotional note for you. Just let that sink in. That's 120 intentional emotional beats packed into one film. Wow. So this whole process, this incredibly detailed planning, it actually has a name. And it's the absolute core of what we're talking about today. It's called emotion design. So what is emotion design? Well, it's the intentional process of setting and mapping out the specific emotions you, the viewer, are going to experience, scene by scene. And get this, it's arguably the screenwriter's most important job. Before a single word of dialogue is written, they're charting out this emotional roadmap. The point isn't just to make you feel something. It's to make sure that journey makes sense, that you can follow along emotionally without getting lost or confused. And that brings us right back to that idea we started with, the screenwriter as the architect of feelings. I mean, it's so true, right? They don't just throw a bunch of plot points and characters at the wall and hope something sticks. No way. They design a complete emotional blueprint, making sure every single piece supports the whole thing, guiding you powerfully and safely from the ground floor all the way to the top. Okay, so if the writer's the architect, what's their blueprint? The actual plans they use? Well, you know it. It's the plot. The plot is the master plan for organizing and delivering all those designed emotions in the most powerful way. And this blueprint is built in layers, kind of like a building, from the ground up. You start with the smallest piece, the scene. That's your basic emotional brick. Then you group those scenes into chapters. Chapters get built into bigger sequences, and finally, those sequences come together to form the huge dramatic movements of an act. See how it works? Each layer supports the one on top of it, creating a solid structure. And this is exactly why that structure is so critical. It's not just about keeping things neat and tidy. The writer is deliberately placing events in a very specific order to create a calculated flow of emotions. That's what gives you that feeling of rising action, of dramatic momentum that just pulls you right to the story. All right, so we've got our blueprint, our structure, but what's the foundation? What's holding this whole emotional building up? It's one key ingredient: dramatic tension. Yeah, you can think of dramatic tension as the track that this whole emotional roller coaster runs on. It's that constant, underlying feeling of what's going to happen next. The writer lays that track from the very beginning to the very end. And because that tension is always there, all the other emotions, the joy, the fear, the love, they can all glide right on top of it, making it super easy for us to feel them and absorb them, one scene at a time. Okay. So we've got the design, the blueprint, the foundation, but what's the point of all this work? What's the ultimate goal here? It all comes down to one incredible thing: creating genuine audience empathy. Listen to this. The character's fear becomes the audience's fear. Wow. I mean, that just nails it, doesn't it? The real goal isn't just for you to watch a character be scared. It's for you to feel scared right along with them. It's when that line between you and the screen just starts to melt away. And this is what that moment looks like. This is the magic of empathy. When the design is perfect, you don't just see the character's fear, you feel your own heart start to pound. You're not just watching anymore, you're in it. You're experiencing that fear right there with them. That's the moment. Honestly, this is the holy grail for a screenwriter. Empathy is when you, sitting there in the audience, connect so deeply with a character that you actually start to absorb their emotions as your own. Suddenly, their victory feels like your victory. Their heartbreak feels like your heartbreak. The story isn't just a story anymore, it's become real for you. So let's just quickly run through the screenwriter's toolkit we've covered. First, you design emotions, scene by scene. Then you build that into a solid plot blueprint, going from scene to chapter to sequence to act. You lay down a strong foundation of dramatic tension to support everything. And you do it all with one ultimate goal in mind, creating true audience empathy. So, I want to leave you with this final question. It doesn't matter if you're a writer, a director, or just someone who absolutely loves a good story. The next time you're creating something, or even just watching a movie, try not to just think about what happens. Think about what you're supposed to feel. So my question to you is, what emotion will you design in your next story?